Hi folks, how y'all doing? Will here back for another fight card prediction. We're going to be breaking down UFC 189, Aldo versus McGregor. Could be Mendes versus McGregor. Who the fuck knows? If you think Jose Aldo, first of all, wins this fight, give me a thumbs up. And if you think the notorious Conor McGregor, the guy in the background behind me there, wins this fight, give me a thumbs down. I want to see what people think, because a lot of people aren't too sure about it. We don't even know what match is going to happen, but I think Aldo versus McGregor will happen. I think it's getting too close for that. But as I say, I'm really looking forward to this card. If you've been watching my videos from the start, you've probably seen me champion Conor McGregor, and yes, he's been handpicked kind of opponents more or less, but he has faced Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, who are really tough guys, top guys as well. So I'm really looking forward to this matchup. Of course, I'm even more excited because I'm flying out to Las Vegas a week from today. This time next week I'll be flying. I'll be on my way to Las Vegas from London. I'm going to be watching Invicta on the Thursday. I'll be at the Expo. I'll be at obviously UFC 189. I'll be at the Tough finale. So it's a week I'm really looking forward to. And after what happened to me last year, if you don't know, I had a personal tragedy the end of last year. This is exactly what I've been focused on for a lot of months, and it's going to be a great event over there. And please, if you see me over there in Vegas and you've watched these videos, please come and speak to me, and I will buy you a beer for watching, because I really appreciate your time and taking out to watch the video. So thank you very much. So we're going to get straight into this video. Love the fight card. It's a perfect kind of fight card for me. A lot of fighters I really like. I'm very high in Cody Garbrandt. Thomas Almeida I'm really high on. Big fan of Gunnar Nelson. Obviously a big fan of Conor McGregor. But we've got people like Aldo and Lawler and MacDonald. Matt Brown versus Tim Means. I mean, hell of a matchup. So we're going to get right into this. It's at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Vegas. And we're starting off in the lightweight division. We've got Yosdenis Cedeno against Cody Pfister. Yosdenis Cedeno was 10-4. Well, Cody Pfister is 11-4-1. Cody Pfister, second fight, he came in short notice against James Montashri. I think it was in Broomfield in February this year, and it was a bit of a mismatch. He came in late, obviously, but James Montashri was just better than him everywhere. I think he gassed a little bit, and Montashri took over and took him out. But watching his fights, he really hasn't fought anybody decent whatsoever. He's pretty average at everything, and I don't think this guy will be really around the UFC an awful lot. I think he'll win a lot of fights in the regional promotions, but in the big leagues I don't see him winning a fight whatsoever. Yosdenis Cedeno, 10-4 record, as we're saying, flights out the Black Zillions, I believe. Coming off that loss to Charlie Priest last time out, I think he beat Gerard Sanders way back in the day, and he lost to Ernest Chavez as well. So a guy who's tries to throw some flashy strikes. He's pretty light on his feet, likes to try and take advantage on the feet and put the guys against the fence, and sometimes take them down and just kind of wear them out. He's a guy, he keeps on going. He's a pretty decent striker, but he doesn't really shine in any kind of particular discipline at all. Okay at everything, pretty much the Pfister, but a grade or two above. I like Cody Pfister in this fight, not Cody Pfister, Yosdenis Cedeno in this fight. I just think he's better pretty much everywhere, and I can see him knocking him out. I'm going to go a second round TKO win here for Yosdenis Cedeno. Next up in the flyweight division, we have another Irishman who's making the trip across to Las Vegas. We have Seery against Smolka. This is another fight which I think is fantastic. Seery, ever since he came into the UFC, I think he's been fantastic. He came in short notice against Brad Pickett in Pickett's hometown of London, was beating Brad Pickett up in the feet, but Pickett was smart enough to take this to the ground and use his wrestling. Seery can be dangerous on the ground, and but he hasn't really showed it too much. I think he used a Kimura on maybe Chris Beal when Chris Beal took him down to get back to his feet, which was pretty slick in his last fight. Beat the shit out of Phil Harris in Dublin. And then a really nice performance against Chris Beal in Sweden earlier on this year. I'm over the moon that Seery's on this card, and I say I am a fan. I've met him 2 or 3 times. Great guy. Really hope he can pull this off here. But he's against a talented up-and-comer in Smolka. He fights out of Hawaii. Came into the UFC, he faced Alptek and Oskalic and put on a great performance in that fight. I picked Oskalic for that fight. I think he took him out in the 3rd round, I believe, if I can remember right. Very dangerous when it goes to the ground with submissions. He's quite lanky for the division, the flyweight division, and he's a little bit extravagant with his strikes as well. He kind of gets in and out well. But in his last fight against Richie Vasulik, he was down in Australia, and I thought he was losing that fight, and then he hit the fucking sweet chin music and knocked Vasulik out. We followed it up with punches. I've been going back and forth on this pick quite a bit. I think a lot of this is going to take place on the feet, and I think Neil Seery is just a lot more technical than Lewis Smolka, and I think he's going to hit him with shots. It's a really close fight. I won't be betting on this fight. Or maybe I'll put Seery in an accumulator or a parlay, as the Americans call it. But I'm just going to go for a very, very slight split decision victory for Neil Seery. Next up in the bantamweight division, our matchup I'm really looking forward to: Cody No Love Garbrandt against Henry Briones. This guy, Henry Briones, he was on the tough Latino America show, fought Guido Canete, was kind of getting beat up in that fight and hit him with a big punch, stopped the fight. On the show, he didn't really show much in that. I think Chito Vera, he got knocked out from, Chito Vera was on his back and hit him with a huge up kick, knocked Briones out. This matchup right here is being made for Cody Garbrandt, because Briones comes forward and Garbrandt has got some huge hooks. I say Cody Garbrandt fighting out a Team Alpha Male, was a state champion wrestler, I think, back in Ohio, and in his UFC debut at UFC 182, he knocked out Marcus Brimage with about 10 seconds left in the fight. A really good finish. He's got some beautiful short left hooks which he uses, some nice inside leg kicks. He's got a very fast twitch. He can throw the high kicks really quick as well. A little bit of capoeira thrown in there. Didn't really show much of his wrestling, but it is there. I don't think he's going to need it for this fight whatsoever. Some of the things I didn't like with Garbrandt in that fight was that he just put his hands down too much, and he did get dinged with a few shots in that fight. But I say in this fight, I don't see it getting out the first round. I think Cody Garbrandt is going to take Briones out in the first round, and if you're playing counter move, get this guy in your team. If you're betting under 1.5 rounds, I think this is a perfect bet. I'll be making money in this fight, I've no doubt about it. Next up, we have Cathal Pendred against John Howard. Now, Pendred's coming back off. I think it's a month between UFC 188 and UFC 189. He got a lot of shit for the Augusto Montano performance, and I don't believe he kind of warranted it at all. He tried to make that fight. He was saying to Montano, "Come on, you're in your hometown. Come and be aggressive." And Montano just didn't do that. I think he nearly got a point taken away for timidity, which is something we don't really see. His striking is coming along, but it's very, very slow. He's got some heavy leg kicks, but his grappling and his wrestling is very, very good for like a European standard. The guy is a warrior. He's never gonna give up. As we've seen in the Mike King fight, which he probably should have lost, he came back and won it. We've seen that in the Cage Warrior days when he was the champion. He did that. I can't believe that. I think is he underdog for this fight? I think I read somewhere he was an underdog for this fight, and if that's true, I don't see how he is. I know it's a short turnaround, but I just feel that John Howard, I believe, is kind of on his way out. Him against Brandon Thatch was it wasn't a good fight for him. A little bit better fight here. I don't see Cathal Pendred knocking out John Howard. I don't see him submitting him, but I do see him, if he gets through the first round with John Howard, he will take him down. He will kind of keep him there. He'll let him back up, put him against the fence, hit him with some elbows, hit him with some shots. But I like Cathal Pendred to go 5-0 in the UFC here, with 4 of those wins coming by decision. I say John Howard last time, he got blitzed by Lawrence Larkin, who looked phenomenal at the weekend, if I'm being honest with you, against Santiago Ponzinibbio. A lot of good fights in the division for that guy. Plus he's got a lot up in that division. He's beat the champion in Robbie Lawler. So yeah, I like Cathal Pendred and I like him by decision. Next up we have the returning Mike Swick against Alex Garcia. Mike Swick, this is his first fight in, I believe, about 2.5 years, I reckon, and his second fight inside 5 years, which is not great considering how long he's been out. Fought UFC on Fox, Henderson versus Diaz in December 2012. Before that he knocked out DeMarcus Johnson, which was a really nice knockout in all fairness. Before that he lost to Dan Hardy, which was a vicious knockout. Where he's back against the... not a knockout, he got lost that by decision, and then he lost to Paulo Thiago via a Darce choke, but he did get beat up pretty bad in that Dan Hardy fight at UFC 105. I think he's been over in Thailand. He's got AKA Thailand open over there. We've seen him cornering a few guys. He's against Alex Garcia here, who's a guy I was pretty high on until he lost to Neil Magny. I still think this guy's got a lot of ceiling in the division. He's 27 years old, fighting out a TriStar, very talented grappler. I think he needs to show more on his feet. If he shows more on his feet, he's going to be a very dangerous guy down that 170 pound division. Wins over Sean Spencer and Ben Wall in the UFC. Before that, Chris Heatherly, who was in the UFC via submission. This guy can definitely knock you out, and he can definitely submit you, but I think with this fight here, I think he's got a great chance to finish the fight, let me say that. And I believe he's going to hurt him in the feet, Swick in the feet, and go for that takedown against the fence, take him down and try and get that back with the rear naked choke. So I am going to go with Alex Garcia. I don't think he'll stop Mike Swick, but I do think he will get a decision victory. Moving on to the headline fight of the prelims, which is a fucking war. I can't wait for this. For one reason, I love Matt Brown's walkout music. I'm a big fan of Avenged Sevenfold. And Tim Means. Now this is a fight that I think a lot of people are really writing Tim Means off in this fight, and I think Tim Means is actually going to win this fight, and I'm going to be betting on Tim Means when I hit Vegas. I've been looking at doing it the last couple of days. I've seen his odds. He's like 13-8 over here in Europe, in Britain, and I think he can stop Matt Brown as well. I think he can. He's got the gas tank to really hurt Matt Brown, and I've never really been big on Matt Brown. I've never been high on him. I think he gets hit. I think he's got a very soft body, which I've said in other fights, and he gets hit. Once he gets hit there, it kind of stays with him. But the guy's a warrior. He comes forward, no doubt about it. Tim Means, on the other hand, say Hernani Perpetuo, Marcel Alexandra, the knockout, beautiful knockout against the cage of Diego Lima, and a really nice submission in the third round against George Sullivan last time out back in April. I just think his overall game and how devastating he can be with certain shots is really going to hurt Matt Brown in this fight. Say Matt Brown's coming off a spirited performance against Johnny Hendricks, but this guy, he's lost. I think Matt Brown's going to go back a little bit, and I think Tim Means is coming forward. He's getting Tim Means at a really bad time, I believe, and I'm going to bet on. I'm going to pick Tim Means here to beat Matt Brown and perhaps stop Matt Brown, which is something that probably a few fights ago I really wouldn't have said, probably 3 fights ago for either guy. But I really like Tim Means in this one. I think he could stop him late in the fight. So, but I'm going to go TKO for Tim Means in the third round there. So that's the prelims and that done, and we're on to the main card here, and it kicks off with a fighter I've been watching his fights for the last few days, and his striking is devastating. But it's Brad Pickett returning to the bantamweight division against Thomas Almeida. Now Brad Pickett went down to flyweight, didn't have a good run down there, lost to Chico Camus, lost to Ian McCall. The guys were just too fast, they were too technical down there for him. He was getting hit with shots, and before he was even swinging, they were out of the way again. So coming back up here to the bantamweight division, and he's getting a fucker of a fight here. He's getting Thomas Almeida, who since coming into the UFC had a fight the night performance against Tim Gorman, who I believe was injured, and then the destruction of Yves Joubain at UFC 186. This guy, I thought Cody Garbrandt was a really good striker. This guy is on another level, maybe 2 levels above him, I believe, and I'm a big fan of Garbrandt. But he's used a distance, he keeps you at the end there, but when he gets you against that cage and hits you with them big left hooks, he goes to the body, he just goes up and down, and he's so fun to watch. That stoppage of Yves Garbrandt is, I've actually watched it 3 or 4 times this week. It's just a fantastic finish. He's a guy, he's 18-0, he's undefeated, he's got that confidence there, and I just think this is a bad matchup for Brad Pickett, who is a big striker, he's a big hitter himself, but he's going to turn into a wrestler in this fight really quick. I don't think that Brad Pickett likes anybody with, I think he struggles against people with speed and variety, and Thomas Almeida has that for days. I'm going to go Thomas Almeida by TKO in the second. Brad Pickett doesn't get taken out very often, but I think Thomas Almeida could be I think maybe the only one to maybe knock him out. I know Barrow stopped him, and he lost back in the day. I can't remember, by submission, I believe. But I like Almeida to actually stop him here. TKO in the second round for Thomas Almeida. Next up is another great fight. It's Gunnar Nelson against Brandon Thatch. A fight that kind of got rearranged in the last 10 days or so. Gunny's coming off that first loss, pretty spirited loss to Rick Story back in Sweden. Got that step up, and Rick Story just had a career night. It was a really good fight that night from Rick Story, but nothing taken away from Gunnar Nelson. He only moved up, in my opinion, with that fight. He's got that karate base, he's in and out, hits you with strikes. I think he needs to be a bit more aggressive, and he's a bit of a slow starter, so he needs to stop that here, because Brandon Thatch is going to come out all guns blazing to start off with. I will probably bet Gunny Nelson here. I think overall, if he stays patient, he can hit Thatch with some strikes. I think if he can get him to the ground, he has a very good chance of submitting Brandon Thatch. Thatch, last time out, faced Benson Henderson in the main event. Made a good start, but Benson Henderson took him down and passed his guard, got the submission victory. Two guys, you don't really see these matchups very much. Two guys who are up and coming, kind of face off this early in their UFC career, but I love this fight. I say the way I see the fight going, I think Thatch is going to come out, he's going to hit Gunny with a few shots, but Gunny's going to manage to get in the later rounds, the last 2 rounds. I can see him getting Thatch down and grounding out a victory. Submission is always there for Gunnar Nelson, but I think it'll be a decision victory for Gunny. Moving on to the featherweight division, we have Dennis Bermudez against Jeremy Stephens. Both guys coming off losses, both guys who've been around for a long time. Dennis Bermudez lost last time out. He got hit with a right hook and then got put to sleep by Ricardo Lamas. Before that, he won 7 fights in a row, wins over Guida. Matt Grice was in there. I think Max Holloway was in there as well, which was very controversial. I thought Holloway won that fight. Jimmy Hett, Steven Seiler, Tommy Hayden, Pablo Garza were the 7 before that. Very top heavy wrestler with some decent power in his hands as well. We can't forget that. But he's against somebody I think has got something to prove in this fight, because last time out against Charles Oliveira, I thought he was terrible. I don't think he was himself in that fight with Jeremy Stephens, and I think he's going to come out guns blazing here. He needs to watch, because he will get put in his back if he comes out too aggressive. I've been going back and forward in this fight, and I actually really, really like Jeremy Stephens, and I've no idea why. Lost his last 2 to Cub Swanson and Charles Oliveira. I'm not going to pick Jeremy Stephens, but I do think he has a great chance to win this fight here. I'm going to go Dennis Bermudez by I think a split decision here for me. Moving on to one of the main events of the night, we have Robbie Lawler against Rory MacDonald for the UFC welterweight title, a matchup that really isn't getting talked about, which is another great fight, but the main event has took over this event. Robbie Lawler, what can I say? It was one of the really good things seeing Robbie Lawler finally win the UFC welterweight title. Did he deserve to beat Johnny Hendricks? I don't think he did at UFC 181, but that's not my place. Since he's come back into the UFC, he's been absolutely outstanding. Beat up Josh Koscheck. Bobby Volker got knocked out. He beat Rory MacDonald, who he's facing via split decision, way back at UFC 167. And then he had the fights with Hendricks, knocked out Lawler, beat Matt Brown in a great fight, and then he beat Hendricks, a guy he's dynamite striking. He just looks fantastic. His takedown defense as well is really good. if he comes out really aggressive here, I think he's got a good chance of really hurting Rory MacDonald. But Rory MacDonald, in my opinion, ever since that loss to Robbie Lawler, I think he's been absolutely fantastic. He's stone cold. He's become a stone cold killer in the 3 fights since then. Beat Damon Maia. I think he had a tough first round in that fight, but came on and kind of neutralised Maia's jiu-jitsu skills and really hurt him in the feet. Tyron Woodley, I thought he totally outclassed with his jab. I think his jab's fantastic. It's something I like watching with Rory MacDonald, is his step in jab, and he really can hurt you because he is pretty long for the division. And then he knocked out Tariq Saffiedine away back in October, which was not many people knock out Tariq Saffiedine. But see, looking at this matchup, I've watched the first fight a few times. Very close fight. I just think that Rory MacDonald is actually, this is his time, I believe. I just got a feeling for Rory MacDonald. I would love Robbie to actually keep the title. I'm a big fan of Robbie Lawler, but I think Rory MacDonald is right there to take the title. So I'm going to go a 5-round decision for Rory MacDonald. And that's us on to the main event. So what's it going to be? Is it going to be Aldo versus McGregor? I think it's going to be that. But it could be Mendes versus McGregor. But I'm going to go on with what I have here, and it's going to be Jose Aldo against the only UFC champion, Jose Aldo, against the notorious Conor McGregor. Now, I might be a little bit favouritism here towards Conor McGregor, but I'm not letting that kind of cloud my judgment in here, because a lot of people have been talking absolute bullshit about Jose Aldo. Now, this is the guy that hasn't lost in 10 years. He's beat the who's who of the division. He's although he hasn't really finished them, he's not been particularly exciting. His fight with Chad Mendes last time, it was fantastic. But I know he hasn't fought much in the UFC. It's like 5 or 6 fights. Mark Hominick, he got hurt in that fight. I think it was a bad weight cut. Beat another southpaw in Kenny Florian. Knocked out Chad Mendes with that beautiful knee. Beat Frankie Edgar. Beat the Korean Zombie. Beat Ricardo Lamas. And then beat Mendes again in an all-out great fight. But this is the guy who is just a devastating striker. I think he's very underrated with his grappling skills as well, which I think we will see in this fight. He's got some beautiful combinations. He's got beautiful head movement in and out. He likes to kind of dart, feint to the right, throw that right hook with the left hook with a right straight down the pipe, and he can hurt the opponents. He makes, with his head movement as well, he makes his opponents overextend and they open up, and he counters that beautifully with the right hook to the body, with the left hook to the body, with the right leg kick as well. People forget how devastating his leg kicks are, and I think he will unload in Conor McGregor here. But I do think we're going to see a grappling Jose Aldo in this fight, because I don't think he will want to stand with Conor McGregor. I think Conor McGregor is just the most powerful striker in that division, and his use of range, he's got a beautiful bolo punch which he uses, the old kind of boxing punch that you see where he kind of ducks up to his right and comes up with a huge right uppercut. He's a long guy in that division, and he puts his hand out and he kind of feints with he throws out a little right to open that big left. His kicks are devastating. He likes to throw his spinning kicks. And I've said from day one, from the time he came into the UFC, this guy is a UFC champion. I will not badmouth Jose Aldo. I don't. The guy is a legend of the sport, without a doubt. But I feel personally this is Conor McGregor's time. I think there's been this whole thing with the drugs test, and there's been the injuries obviously occurred where he's got a bruised rib, which I found fascinating why that would even come out, because I don't know whether it's mind games from Aldo, but I think Aldo McGregor has done everything right here. He moved his camp to Las Vegas. He brought all of his team over. They've been there for weeks on end, and I just think this is going to be Conor McGregor's time. I really do believe that. He is the favourite to win betting wise in this fight. I do reckon we will see these two at it again if Jose Aldo wants to stay at 145. If not, we maybe even see it at 155 in the future, which could be quite interesting. But I'm actually going to go with the notorious Conor McGregor. I think he's actually going to stop Jose Aldo in this fight, and I can see him doing it inside 3 rounds. He's going to hit him with them big shots, and I don't think he's going to recover, but no way whatsoever am I counting out Jose Aldo. He is a great of the sport, a legend, a Hall of Famer he's going to be in the future. But I just think it's Conor McGregor's time, and I'm going to go Conor McGregor v TKO, 3rd round for me. So that is my picks for UFC 189. Really excited for the card. I'm going to probably film the tough finale picks on Thursday, along with my San Diego picks for the week after. And then probably Monday before I leave for Las Vegas, I'm going to make my UFC Glasgow picks as well. So that is my picks for UFC 189. Please come follow me on Twitter, WillMartin7MMA. Go check out the guys at Kingdom MMA who have helped me tremendously throughout the last couple of years, helping my knowledge of the MMA and giving me some stuff to do regarding it. And some of the people I want to kind of shout out to a great podcast which I listen to and I really look forward to every week. Part and Shot podcast, James Lynch, Colin Bardsley do a fantastic show. If you don't listen, please go and watch or listen to their podcast, I should say. Severe MMA, Andrew McGahan and Sean Sheehan. Right, they two are my favourite podcasts. I love the Irish boys. I think they're great guys and big fans of the sport. I think they're going to have a great time reporting from this UFC 189. I know Sean's going to be at home. Andrew will be in Las Vegas. Sean will be doing everything back home. Check out severemma.com. And Andrew McGann will be doing great interviews over there, as well as competing in his BJJ tournaments. So yeah, and if you want to come and play counter move with me and the boys, let me know. I'll add you in every week. I'm the one that usually makes the teams, the games up. Want in, let me know. I'm coming on for nearly half an hour, 27 minutes on here. I hope I haven't taken too much of your time. I really appreciate it. If I want to see what people think. Do you think Aldo's going to win? Thumbs up. McGregor, thumbs down. Thank you very much. Keep your eyes out for the tough finale video. And if I don't see you beforehand, I will see you in Vegas drinking those beers, baby. Thank you very much. Take care.